Photographer Martin Parr passed away last Saturday. Photography world lost one of its most important voices. Rather than a typical tribute, I want to honor his legacy by talking about the 7 principles he spent decades sharing with photographers, lessons about building bodies of work that matter. These aren't just theories, these are things that work, and you can apply them to your philosophy and photography. Hi, it's Peter here, and let's get right into the business. The first one is think in projects, not singles. I never think of photographs as being individual, always as a group. And this is a really important thing because too many times we're just after one great shot that has nothing to do with we have photographed before. Try to get a project or some kind of a theme that you photograph that will boost up your whole photography, and it could be a body of work. And of course, this depends on a little bit what your goals are as a photographer. If you're just a regular snapper, which is nothing wrong with that. But if you are aiming to be a better photographer, or even if you are aiming to do something meaningful with your photography that will affect broader audience than just you and your family and loved ones, then pick a project and don't think just single images. When you're making a project, print your best photographs. Let's say that print the first 2 best ones from that particular project, whatever it is. And then add the 3rd one when you get that, and the 4th one. And always think about replacing some of them if you get something better than you already have. And this is really important, and this is something that most photographers that have making projects are doing. The workflow is like that. And that is something that I've always implemented when I do some projects or some kind of set of images. And if you want to learn more about making set of images, a series of images, a story, please join us in Kuala Lumpur next spring to the Urban Street Narrative Workshop. It's me, Matti Sulanto, and Robin Wong who are the instructors on that. I will put a link in the description for you to take a closer look. But let's continue with Martin Parr. How to pick one, or what to pick, rather. Find a subject you care about. The most interesting subject matter we're ever going to find is going to be people. They are endlessly fascinating. Well, as you see from most of Martin Parr's work, he was photographing people. But it doesn't mean that you have to photograph people. It can be anything. The main thing here is that you have a project that you care about and like about, because it's very hard to photograph something that you're not interested in. So try to find something that interests you. It can be plants on your backyard, make a project out of that, or birds on the backyard. It could be your city, it could be a street corner, whatever it is that interests you, and be passionate about it and use the method that I was saying in the previous tip or thing that we can learn from Martin Parr. That will definitely boost your photography. It's not only about you getting better, but there will be a purpose if you have something going on as a project. The project is the purpose. And then there is one thing that almost every photographer that I've ever listened to or investigated or researched is that accept that most photos fail. And this is really something that we really need to understand. Most of the pictures you see, you actually miss. So inevitably, what you end up doing is taking a lot of rubbish. In fact, the basic theory is the more rubbish you take, the better the chances of a good photograph emerging as well. So keep on taking the rubbish. This is something that we have to understand and be familiar with and cope with. Because when we go out there and photograph, let's say that you photograph a couple of hours, don't expect to get anything. 5 hours, maybe one shot a day is a huge amount. 10 to 12 photographs a year is a good amount of keepers. So don't worry if you don't get anything from your photo walk. It happens. But as Martin Parr said, the more you photograph, the more possibilities you have to get that great shot. So don't forget that. And then before we continue, a fun fact about Martin Parr in Finland. He was a visiting professor at the University of Art and Design in Helsinki in the photography department in 1990 to 1992. And that is the building where the School of Arts and Design used to be in the 90s. And during that time, he made a project called, let me check that I say correctly, Ferry between Helsinki and Stockholm. I could only find a couple of images from that project. And to be honest, when I was researching some stuff for this video, I did not know about this project. I knew that he was here as a visiting professor in the 90s, but I did not know that he made that project. And I will research more and try to find some more photographs. And then the next one. Look for the extraordinary in the ordinary. As we travel around Britain, or in any place in the world for that matter, I'm convinced most of us cannot really appreciate what we are seeing. We take too much for granted because it is also familiar. And that is something that we all photographers struggle. When we go photographing around, we just don't see because everything is so familiar. We just have to learn to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. And that's why sometimes when I go abroad, my photography seems to be better because I photograph more with the open eyes. When I go downtown Helsinki, everything is so familiar and I might miss a lot of things. Develop a clear visual voice. I go straight in very close to people, and I do that because it's the only way you can get the picture. You go right up to them. Yeah, this is Martin Parr's signature style. He just gets in close with people or close to them and photographs them. And creating your own visual style is important in the long run. Of course, at the beginning, don't worry about it too much. How you could go on with that is to pick the best shots and see what's common with those photographs and take that path. And see what comes out. Because that way you will have a recognizable style over the years. Of course, it doesn't happen overnight, but it will happen eventually. This does not mean that you could not have several different styles at the same time. Sometimes you want to photograph black and white, and sometimes you want to photograph in color, and maybe the subject vary. But always have in mind what you already have. Let's say that you have some photographs from a street corner in your hometown, and go back there and photograph a few shots there every now and then, and have that as a project. Then you might have another project that is totally something else. So go back to your images every now and then and group them into different projects or styles or subject matters or whatever you feel is the best way for you. And then you always have something to photograph if you kind of like group your photos that and have them in your mind. And to have them in your mind, go to the archives. And number 6, be obsessive and persistent. Get out there and do it. If it is a good, it will be seen. There is no such thing as a brilliant new contemporary photographer who is undiscovered. Okay, this goes a little bit maybe too deep, but I think the point here is go out there and do it. So go out there and photograph. As I already said many times, if you don't go out there, you won't get any images. And if you go more, you will get a lot more keepers, even though you will get more rubbish, as we were talking earlier. If you want to be noticed as a photographer, there might be some people there, maybe locally or in a larger scope of outside your city, your country, or your continent maybe. Put those photos to display. Put them in photo app, Instagram, or whatever is the social media that you like to share your work. That way you might get noticed. Make some books, make some zines, make some albums. But of course, this depends on what your goals are. It's nothing wrong with photographing for your family. That could be something. And photographing for your loved ones, maybe photographing for your photo club. And when I say this, it doesn't mean that you photograph for them. Photograph for yourself. But when you're sharing them, people start noticing you, if that is something that you want. If not, that's totally fine too. And that is also something that Martin Parr says, that it doesn't really matter how you photograph. The main thing is that you photograph and enjoy photography. And this is a common thing that many photographers say. And then I remind you that after the next tip, I will have an extra tip. And the 7th one is use humor with purpose. I like humor. We learn a lot about listening to stand-up comics. The vulnerability they often express has an overlap with the vulnerability I'm looking for in my own work. The world is funny, let's face it, and people are funny. Martin Parr used a lot of humor in his images, and that made a lot of us smile when we were looking at his work. He was spreading goodwill. But I don't think he was mocking or, exploiting them or making them as a laughing stock. I think he did that with respect. He showed the world as it is and showed some funny moments and made us laugh. And I think that's also something that we can learn from him, is to enjoy photography and photograph something that's humorous. It's not very easy to do that. But if you see something funny, photograph it. But try not to exploit and make someone as, laughing stock. There is a fine line, and it can be a little bit hard if we photograph someone who is, doing something stupid on the streets and makes us laugh, and we photograph it and make the subject or the person as laughing stock. So be very careful with this. This is it's thin ice to be where the line, so that you don't cross the line. But try to incorporate some humor in your images. Extra tip: build your Photobook library. I've always been a great believer in looking at photo books. You learn so much from them. How to sequence, how to build narrative, how other photographers solve the same problems you're facing. I do have, as you see here, quite a bit of books and like to read them and like to look at the photographs in them and see how they built the narrative and how they built the sequences and what if there is an opening in a book and what comes next. And Martin Parr also made a huge amount of books during his career. And he also have shared a lot of books that he have bought, because he has Martin Parr Foundation in Bristol, which has a library with 5,000 books that are accessible to public. And I think it's, if you are a member of the foundation, you have some kind of a fast lane to the library. And that is especially a place that I want to visit someday. And I've been to UK quite many times, but never been to that place. There are some of his photographs exhibited, and then there's the library and all that. That would be a really great place to go. So if you are from Britain, live in the UK and have possibility to go there, plan a trip to that, because it is most likely one of the places that every photographer should visit. And if you have visited that, please tell me in the comments down below and tell me how was it and how you felt and what did you like about it, and did you go to the library and all that. Look at other photographers' work too, like Martin Parr teaches us. And yeah, it was a sad thing that he passed away, and all the best to his family and friends and whoever he was working with. And it's a sad thing that we lost him. He wasn't very old either. And here are some more videos about great photographers that I've covered on my channel. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.